No drama. That's Jensen Huang's story today. But between Nvidia's $20 billion power play and the 2 lakh crore rupees SaaSpocalypse hitting Indian IT stocks this afternoon, the drama is actually at an all-time high. The AI honeymoon is over, from Nvidia tightening its grip on OpenAI to agentic tools triggering a total valuation meltdown on Dalal Street. We've entered the era of structural dominance and high-stakes survival. Welcome to Front Page. Here are the headlines for tonight. Huang says there's no drama as the chip giant nears a reported $20 billion stake in OpenAI's mega round, positioning Nvidia to stay structurally tied to the world's biggest AI buyer even as OpenAI explores inference alternatives and pushes toward an IPO. Sam Altman calls Moltbook a fad, signaling the hype cycle is thinning and only tools with real retention will survive. Sarvam AI launches Sarvam Audio and ASR stack for 22 Indian languages, plus Indian English built for code mixing, multi-speaker chaos and long real-world calls. Finally, Indian IT stocks slid up to 8% as markets priced in agentic AI disruption after Anthropic unveiled Claude Co-work plugins that automate legal, sales and data workflows, raising fears of margin compression in effort-based IT services models. $20 billion. That is enough money to buy every single team in the IPL twice over and still have enough change to build a couple of stadiums from scratch. But for Jensen Huang, that's just what it costs to make sure the future of AI doesn't happen without him. Welcome to Front Page. While the rest of the world is wondering if AI is a bubble, Nvidia is busy putting a permanent ring on OpenAI's finger. We are of course talking about a $20 billion investment that marks the single largest bet in Nvidia's history. This is the anchor for a massive $100 billion capital raise that values OpenAI at a staggering $830 billion. Wow. To put that in perspective, OpenAI is now being valued like a sovereign state, worth more than the entire GDP of Argentina. Just a few days ago, reports were flying that legendary Stargate project, that $100 billion plan to build a data center the size of a small moon, had basically stalled. People thought the Nvidia-OpenAI marriage was headed for a tragic divorce. Then Jensen Huang sits down with Jim Cramer yesterday, looks the world in the eye and says, there's no drama, everything is on track. Honestly, it is the most expensive I am fine in human history. He's essentially saying the wedding isn't off, it's just getting, well, significantly more exclusive. But what is the real move here? Nvidia owns the training market, we all know that. So if you want to build an AI, you pay the Jensen tax. But the real war is over inference, the day-to-day cost of running the AI. OpenAI has been caught seeing other people, lately of course, looking at custom chips to lower their costs. Sam Altman even called Nvidia's chips the best in the world. This week, which is of course corporate speak for, I really like you, but I'm definitely keeping my options open. This $20 billion is a strategic anchor. It ensures that even if OpenAI builds its own chips, they never leave the Nvidia family. It's a $20 billion engagement ring intended to stop a breakup. And of course, Nvidia isn't the only one at the table. Amazon is reportedly negotiating a $50 billion deal to keep OpenAI on AWS. And of course, SoftBank is hovering with another $30 billion. Why? Well, because Jensen Huang sees AI as the largest infrastructure build-out in human history. He is moving beyond building a chatbot into building the 5-layer industrial stack, which is energy, chips, cloud, models, and of course, apps. And that $20 billion check is a down payment on the foundations of the 21st century. It's like actually owning the only refinery in the world right as the first car rolls off the line. So, when Jensen Huang says no drama, please don't mistake it for nothing changed. The power dynamic has definitely matured. We've moved past the very cool startup phase and entered the era of massive calculated discipline. Nvidia keeps their biggest customer close. OpenAI secures enough compute power to stay alive. And the markets finally get a bit of peace. No drama just means the prenup is finally signed and it's written in liquid gold. Now, of course, as this deal closes, watch out for two things. Does OpenAI get first dibs on the new Blackwell chips? And how long before that $830 billion valuation starts to look like a bargain or a bubble? Jensen says it's calm. We say it's the quiet before the biggest IPO in tech history. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Front Page by the AIM Network. Please go ahead and like, share, and subscribe if you want to know where the next billion is going. And of course, as always, think AI, think AIM.
This notion of what's happening right now, I'm sure you're tracking this with Moltbook and what happened with Claudebot. Is it just a passing fad, or do you think that there's something that we should take away from that on?
No, I think it is definitely not a passing. Well, Moltbook may be. I don't know, but OpenClaw is not.
This notion of what's happening right now, I'm sure you're tracking this with Moltbook and what happened with Claudebot. Is it just a passing fad, or do you think that there's something that we should take away from that on?
No, I think it is definitely not a passing. Well, Moltbook may be.
Last week, the internet was mesmerized with a digital hallucination called Moltbook, a place where AI bots hang out, gossip, and act like they don't need us humans anymore. But in just a few days, it went from a niche experiment to an AI Reddit, where bots were literally founding their own digital fates, their languages, and swapping server hacks, giving rise to most people seeing a meme. But Sam Altman saw a fad, and here's the twist. He's not trashing the tech, he's telling us that the way you use your computer is about to transform, and that too forever. Welcome to Front Page. If you haven't seen it, Moltbook is an AI-only social network built on an open source framework called OpenClaw. It's fascinating for sure. But Altman just sat down at the Cisco AI Summit and basically told the audience, forget the social network, look at the engine. See, basically OpenClaw isn't a chatbot, it's an agent. Well, it doesn't just talk, it acts, can manage your calendar, argue with your insurance company, and check you in for flights while you're still asleep. Altman's point is that while we're distracted by bots gossiping on a screen, the underlying power to let AI use a computer is officially out of the bottle. Altman made a confession at the summit that honestly, well, we can all relate to. He said he swore he'd never given AI full control over his laptop. He didn't want a bot touching his private files, browsing his personal data, or sending emails as him. That resolve lasted exactly 2 hours. Once, of course, he saw a personal agent navigate his desktop and finish a stack of tasks without being asked twice. The fear just evaporated. This, we believe, is the ChatGPT moment of 2026. It's that psychological shift, where the bot stops being a search bar you talk to and starts actually being a teammate you delegate to. It's the moment utility officially beats out the paranoia. But then, of course, we cannot forget the UI war, can we? Codex versus the world. This shift is exactly why OpenAI just announced a standalone Mac OS app for Codex, because they're fighting for the interface. When we, of course, give some thought about the workflow, here it is. One starts to realize, why would one go to a browser, log into a website, and copy-paste code when the AI can just live inside your operating system? Yeah. Codex has already hit 1 million developers. And by moving on to the desktop, OpenAI is going head-to-head with tools like Cursor and Claude Code. They want to be, of course, the command center for your life. By building this software, they are trying to become a bridge between you and your machine. But there is, of course, a massive multi-billion-dollar roadblock. And here it is. Altman admitted he was wrong about one thing: adoption. He thought we'd be living in an agent economy by now. So why aren't we, Sam? Well, it's because it is not actually a tech problem. It's a plumbing problem. Our current security systems were built for humans, not AI. Most enterprise software assumes a person is sitting there clicking buttons. When an AI agent tries to log in, the security alerts go berserk like a bank robbery. Legal teams are terrified of who is liable if a bot makes a mistake. And of course, the IT departments have no idea how to permission a digital coworker. Altman calls this the capability overhang. The AI is ready to work a 9 to 5 right now as we speak. It can already write software and run complex research. But we haven't built the digital office infrastructure for it yet. We are, of course, living in a world where the car is ready, but the roads haven't been paved. And here is, of course, the front page take. So yeah, Moltbook might fade away. The bot gossip might stop being funny. And the viral memes will move on. But the idea of an AI co-worker is the new baseline. Altman's warning was dead serious. Companies that are not set up to adopt AI co-workers quickly will be at a huge disadvantage. We are, of course, moving from AI as a tool to AI as a teammate. The machines have finally learned how to use our tools, navigate our apps, and cross off our to-do lists. The tech is ready, but the question is whether you are ready to let a bot take the wheel. And of course, please keep an eye out for OpenClaw and how the big cloud players like Cisco and Amazon handle these agentic permissions over the next few months. If the security walls come down and these agents get the keys to the house, the floodgates, my friend, for a new kind of economy will definitely open up. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Front Page by the AIM Network. And of course, if you're ready to hand over your mouse or to an agent, or if the thought of a bot vibe coding on your hard drive keeps you up at night, please let's talk in the comments. And of course, always remember, think AI, think AIM. If you've ever tried to use Siri or Alexa in a crowded Indian market, you've seen it happen, right? They have a total nervous breakdown. Global AI is built for a very quiet living room in California. It is historically deaf to India's everyday audio chaos because we don't speak in textbooks. We speak in code-mixed, noisy, multi-accented reality. But today, the silence from big tech gets a very serious homegrown answer. Sarvam AI just launched Sarvam Audio, and it's a 3 billion parameter reality check for the rest of the world. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Front Page. We all know that in India, speaking is easier than typing. But for AI, listening to us is a nightmare. Most speech recognition systems are trained on clean data. One person, one language, zero noise. They fail the second they hit a crowded call center, a government office, or a rural health clinic. Sarvam Audio is an audio-first model built on their Sarvam 3B architecture, trained on a massive 4 trillion tokens. It's designed specifically for the strangely complicated middle. Code-mixed speech where you switch from Hindi to English mid-sentence, regional accents that global benchmarks ignore, and those very low-quality 8 kilohertz telephony recordings that make up most of India's customer service. So what Sarvam does is, apart from hearing the words very clearly, it also understands the environment. Sarvam claims that on the Indic voices benchmark, which of course is the gold standard for Indian language AI, Sarvam Audio delivers lower word error rates than GPT-4o Transcribe and Gemini 3 Flash. Accuracy is a big win, but the true victory lies in the fact that it's built locally, which brings us to Sarvam's tokenizer, which according to me is a masterpiece of efficiency. It uses up to 75% fewer tokens per word for Indian languages compared to global models. For developers, that means it's accurate, it's significantly faster and very cheap to run. At a price point of about just 30 rupees per hour for transcription, it's the difference between a cool demonstration and being infrastructure one can actually afford to scale to millions of users. I guess we have all felt it, that one of the biggest headaches in AI is diarization, knowing who said what in a room full of people. Sarvam Audio solves this with a specialized mode that handles up to 8 distinct speakers at once, even when they're talking over each other. It can process recordings up to an hour long with high-precision speaker labeling, which is marvelous as potential for a doctor's clinic, a legal deposition, or for that matter, a chaotic Monday morning stand-up that you have faced in your offices. It turns a chaotic cocktail of noise into a structured, searchable database of human intent, and that too for just an extra 15 rupees per hour. With it, one gets diarized speech recognition that finally knows who is actually in charge of the conversation. Usually, AI works like a relay race, voice to text, then text to a model, then finally an action. Sarvam is eliminating the middleman. By processing the audio modality directly, they have actually enabled speech to action. So if a user says, for example, pay my electricity bill, the system doesn't just write it down. It identifies the biller, extracts the account number, and triggers the payment instantly. No typing, no reading, just voice-first automation. Now, of course, can you see the magnitude of this? Because it can be the bridge to the next billion users who might never touch a keyboard in their lives. And of course, here it is, the front page take. Sarvam Audio is proof that language is infrastructure and voice is the new operating layer. This launch follows Sarvam Dub, which, by the way, was recently used to live dub the 2026 union budget. So as they prepare to unveil their massive foundational model under the India AI mission later this month, the message to Silicon Valley is, if you want to talk to India, you have to learn to listen like an Indian. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Front Page by the AIM network. So of course, if you're tired of your phone not understanding your accent, or if you think voice first is the future, let's talk in the comments. Till then, of course, think AI, think AIM. And of course, for right now, we're going to take a short little break, and then of course, we're going to be back with lots more, only on Front Page. Seen. 2 lakh crore rupees in investor wealth has been vanished and wiped out in a single session. This is the worst crash for Indian IT since the 2020 pandemic. But the culprit isn't a global recession or a bad earnings cycle. It's actually a software agent by the name of Anthropic. Anthropic's latest launch has crossed a line the markets weren't ready for. The global SaaS apocalypse has arrived. And it is a direct hit on the billable hour, the very heartbeat of India's $280 billion IT industry. Today, February 4th, 2026, the Nifty IT index plunged over 7%. This is a global contagion. Overnight in the United States, peers like Accenture dropped 9% as software stocks were gutted, wiping out $285 billion from the Nasdaq. The catalyst? Anthropic's Claude Co-work, which just released 11 enterprise plugins that don't just assist, they actually execute, using the Model Context Protocol, MCP. These agents connect directly to company data to manage entire departments like legal, finance, and sales. And for the first time, investors are seeing AI as a replacement for the labor-intensive delivery model India is built on. The market is pricing in the structural collapse of the traditional IT pyramid. And of course, joining us is Pallavi Chakravarti, the editor at AIM, to of course decode the real story behind these red screens. Welcome to the show, Pallavi. How are you doing?
Hi, Sudhi. How are you? I'm good.
Very well. A big warm welcome to Front Page. Of course,
Thank
this
you.
has been a bloodbath as far as Dalal Street is concerned. So, of course, kicking things off, starting with the earnings gap. Markets are panicking, Pallavi, but contracts are long term. So, is this business model erosion, or are you seeing this just as a premature reaction to a future that hasn't hit the revenue sheets as yet?
It's too bold a statement to make, I believe, whether it's a business model erosion or it's like, whether the revenues will be hit. But yeah, definitely it's the time to change, which is why, AI boom, everybody has been talking about it. But as today's bloodbath, whether at the Wall Street or at the Dalal Street, it's basically, like markets, they react, it's everything is like, it's they assume and then they react. So it's always, forward looking. Markets are forward looking.
Sure.
So if they assume that there will be probably profits or revenue would be hit, they would react. And that's what happened at Wall Street, and that's what happened in India as well. And of course, legal contracts and everything, they are long term.
Yeah.
So it would be difficult to say whether how much of the revenue would be hit in terms of particularly the IT sector or the SaaS sector. But yeah, things would change in terms of hirings, as we've already seen last year. There were just about 30,000 TCS, employees. They were laid off. Only about 17 employees have been added by the entire top IT companies, which says a lot that the companies are already apprehending how AI is going to impact their business model. Definitely, that will change, and which is why the Claude tool, if it is automating tasks which are actually which has been the backbone of the Indian IT sector.
Right.
That's because the IT stocks, they started immediately reacting to what happened in the Wall Street as well.
No, I think one point that you made, I think requires a little more of a discussion, which is the fact that for sure, the stock market, as we all understand, is very quick and very mercurial to react. But sometimes, but most of the times they are coming in from a certain amount of a tremor, which is very subterranean, which is very underneath. And it is obviously looking at probabilities which can come true.
Definitely. Right now, it's a probability. Jensen Huang, he also said that, it's nothing like that. AI is not going to take away jobs. Today also he said that. But the fact is that it's a probability, which is why we cannot make such strong statements whether how much of the revenue is going to be impacted, whether this bloodbath is going to continue or not, and whether business models, they need to be changed and how much of that needs to be changed. So that for sure it's difficult to say immediately, but yeah, it's a reaction, but how strong a reaction it should have been, and it is actually, that is definitely debatable.
Fair enough.
But that said, even last month when Claude was launched, even then the stocks had reacted. But of course, because of the plugins which were released yesterday, particularly the legal plugin, which is why the automate because they can be straight away, used by any company. They can be they can be merged with with whatever tool the company is using. So, which is why the stocks reacted so much, because it's a direct hit, or rather a direct reaction to the Indian IT sector.
Which actually brings me to this aspect. If
Yeah.
AI agents like Claude Cowork, like you just mentioned, can be spun up, and the plugins, etc., does the human bench, the pride of the Indian IT aspect, become well, somewhere it needs to be very, very cautious moving forward, because it definitely is something which is hitting at that aspect with these kind of plugins.
Certainly, because otherwise, the Indian IT sector, it was always been very labor intensive, and which is why the whole what do you say, the sector, which is why the US was always giving away the roles to the Indian IT sector. But now that very thing, if you don't need that much labor, that definitely impacts the whole IT bench, as you rightly
Sure.
said, because it will also impact whether freshers would be, the junior developers would be, at all be needed. Because there is no time needed to actually train them, and to basically the pyramid style of employment, that's not needed anymore if we actually employ something like Claude. So that definitely changes, or rather questions, that how exactly now the employment, or the workforce of the Indian IT sector will look like.
But you know
And
what,
as you,
Pallavi, if you remember,
yeah,
there was an announcement which was made some time back, which was the 22 lakh rupee package, which was talked about, where there was a specialized, if you're coming in with a slight amount of skill aspect, and if you're good at
right,
it, then the companies are willing to pay you for it, correct? So does
yeah.
this at some level or the other also signal towards that entire understanding, or that entire thought process, then moving forward, when you're coming in, the companies are definitely talking about the fact that your skill set has to be great. You cannot be no longer in terms of conventional, in terms of the way you want to proceed, because then you will be left out of the race.
Don't stay too close to the camera.
Is that okay?
Yeah, Pallavi, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I just wanted to draw your attention to, well, there was an announcement which was made, right, sometime back, which was about the fact that 22 lakh rupees per annum was the package, and it was actually coaxing a lot of the people to pivot towards
Yeah.
specializing themselves and their skill
Yes.
sets. And if you had that those qualities, you would be appreciated and rewarded. But if you were still following the conventional models of for example, the education, or if you were following the conventional legacy aspects, you might just get left out of the race. So do you feel with something like this coming in, that just accelerates the entire thought process?
Quite possibly, Sudhi, because all IT companies, they are demanding a certain kind of skill set, and also AI-enabled skill set. Like,
Yes.
for example, they would prefer a person who has done some kind of an AI, certification, or some kind of a AI course, or they would prefer that. They are making very clear, because they themselves are also going through that phase of adopting and adapting to AI. So which is why that change is there. Even if, and they're making it very clear that if they're offering a certain kind of package, it will not be that if you know only maybe Java,
Sure,
or
sure,
only a Python, and that's about it, and you are done.
sure.
That's not going to work anymore. That is certainly sure for the Indian IT sector.
With
If
this launch,
that's what you meant.
yeah, that's exactly what I was trying to understand from you. As far as the launch is concerned, what do you have to say as far as Anthropic's sentiment would be right now? I'd love for you to shed some light on that, because this is a big
I
win as
think
far
they
as
would
they're
be
concerned.
pleasantly.
Yes.
I'm not sure. I don't think they'll be surprised. But see, the CEO has always. He has over the past few months, even in Davos, he had said that AI is going to take away a certain number of jobs. Certain engineering skills would be redundant after 6 months. we will not need engineers, we will not need junior engineers after 6 months or by the end of 2000. These are very strong statements
Yes,
to
they
be
are.
made. And, everybody, the entire globe was watching. It was covered by the international media.
True.
So I am sure Anthropic is, kind of basking under the glory of, what they have done and how they have kind of, what do you say that, as
In
you
a
said,
way,
that
they've kind of walked the
in a way
talk.
they've, yeah, absolutely, they
Yeah,
have walked the talk. They have said and they have proved that, this is what we are indicating. So
correct.
if now we are also looking at, they might be more either layoffs, or they might be trimming down in a different way. If they might not call it layoffs, but maybe role, changeovers would happen. There would be a lot of, I don't know if people would be even hiring from colleges this year, to an extent,
Oh wow!
because
So,
they,
have you sensed that though? Have you sensed that they're basically, in terms of the on-campus hiring, are
there
at
might be a slowdown. There
okay?
might be a slowdown for sure. I mean, I was talking to an analyst. He didn't want to be quoted, but he said that, something like this. It's not only about the stocks. It's also about the whole sector. And the fresh students who are maybe like passing out of college. It's a very big jolt, or rather, what do you see? What do you say? Kind
Puts
of
them in
a,
very uncertain times, maybe,
yeah,
Pallavi.
uncertain times. And they can understand that maybe the degree is not enough. Maybe they have to either think of doing something else, or maybe pivoting their own career. So yeah, I mean, it's like a trickle down effect. It's not only the stocks, it's the company, it's internally, it's externally, it's in the entire workforce.
Fair enough. Pallavi, what about the Indian IT ecosystem? For example, I remember you were mentioning something to me a little while before we started about Zoho. I thought
Yeah,
that
yeah,
was
yeah.
very interesting that you were talking about that. I would love
Yeah,
for
yeah.
you to
So
let our
actually,
viewers
Sridhar
know.
Vembu was Sridhar Vembu was one of the first to react on X, and he said that, how that there's a lot of fear among the industry, and both globally and in India, about how SaaS is going to, the companies, they are going to survive AI, and how it's going to impact them, whether the companies are going to survive, whether what will happen to the workforce, how the Indian IT is going to be affected. And he also questioned, saying that how will Zoho, survive this?
Wow, that's a big one.
So that's a very big statement to make. And then he said that probably we all have to adapt.
Everyone has
So
to adapt. Yeah.
so he gave a very clear indication that change is here to stay, and that's what everybody has to look forward to gain ground, whether it's a SaaS company or whether it's Indian IT.
Whether it be Jensen Huang, whether it be Sam Altman, whether it be Mr. Vembu himself, etc., or probably the people who are so ensconced, everyone is, of course, talking about the adaptability. Everyone is
Yes,
talking about the fact that we have to adapt. There is no other way forward. But the question I have
absolutely.
for you, Pallavi, uh,
Yeah.
in conclusion, is the time factor. Can we kind of predict how quickly are we supposed to adapt? Because the speed at which the developments are going, we can't even seem to understand where they are coming out. They're just coming out of the woodwork.
Right. So I like we saw 2025 was like it was a big year for AI, when particularly in India, when there were so many announcements that have been made. So I mean, that's a direction that all of us are moving towards. And I believe that this year would also see a lot of changes in Indian IT, when it comes to adapting and adopting AI. Both you adapt to AI and you also adopt it, within the company, and how you can basically utilize AI, still keeping the business model intact, or maybe pivot it a bit, and kind of at least go forward, or rather continue to survive in the tech industry. And because even like the orders, they have also gone down in terms of both from the UK and from the US to the Indian IT sector.
Wow.
So even if the revenue is not immediately hit, as which we saw over the last quarter, but the fact that hirings have gone down there has been a lot of trimming down in terms of departmental changes as well. So these are all indications that they are all gearing up, or rather they are facing it, that we all have to. I mean, it's not going to just continue as it was.
Sure.
That formula is not going to continue. It has to change, and it will change. So I would say that without sounding too analytical, that 2026 would actually be a huge year, or rather the year of pivot for Indian IT.
Wonderful, Pallavi. Thank you so much for giving us your insights, and we, as always, will keep bringing you back on front page as this story and other stories, of course, keep developing. And wishing you all of the best. Ladies and gentlemen, that was, of course, Pallavi Chakravarti, an editor at AIM. We just have to elaborate on what just Pallavi said and say this in conclusion. Today, the outsourcing age has actually evolved into the agentic age. So for every engineer and CEO who's watching, the question is very simple. Are we selling manpower, or are we actually starting to sell the results? The roads for the AI economy are being paved, and they are being paved at breakneck speed. Though, of course, the ruins of the old billing models, as Pallavi just mentioned, this might be the year where that pivot has to happen, and it has to happen with a lot of alacrity. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Front Page by AIM Network. Please go ahead and like, share, and subscribe, and tell us in the comments below. Is this the time to, well, go ahead and buy the dip, or is the billable hour officially dead? And always, of course, remember, think AI, think AIM.